the Chrysalis Centre, and I'm here with Andy. Would you like to introduce yourself, Andy?
Yeah, sure. My name's Andy. I am the chairperson for Chrysalis Centre for Change. I'm also part of a management team that work with young people and families at a local government.
Perfect. So in your lifetime, how do you see the concept of masculinity has changed, or do you not think it's changed that much?
I think it needed to change, to be honest.
Yeah.
To be fair, I think it's changed quite a lot in terms of when I was young, growing up. It was very much a father's role to discipline.
Yeah.
And it was very much, I didn't really see much emotion from a father-son perspective, in the sense of, I cry at flaming cartoons. So, so I've evolved. But
I didn't see that.
I didn't see that back in my day.
Yeah.
So and I think, for men as well, I think talking to other men about some of the things that are going on the inside.
Yeah.
I think that's been a big change as well. Back in my day, it was like, the saying was, you don't hang out your dirty laundry for all your neighbours to see. It was very much the things that were going wrong were hidden and kind of put to one side, so brushed under the rug, forgotten about, whatever you want the term to be. But it wasn't spoke of openly, and very rarely did I see men talking about personal or being vulnerable. I think vulnerability is something that I've really come to value in my maturer years. As a young person, I didn't really connect with that, and that was probably because of the way that society was for me back in those days and growing up, and it was very much a masculine world where things were masked, kept inside.
Big bravado, wasn't it?
Very much part of our DNA, I think, as men was, hunter-gatherers, providers, safety, security, all those things that really, this day and age, I don't think that fits in with society. And I think, the whole aspect of having a partner is so that you can do things and go through things together. Rather than it being one sole person's responsibility. And so I think there's been a lot of change, and I think for the better in a lot of senses.
So obviously you have your own kids. Do you see like your vulnerable side? Do you think that's good for your kids to see?
Well, they always say to me, when we're watching a movie or anything like that, they'll recognise when the moment's getting, there's something happening in that moment. And they'll have a little wager with each other for when I'm going to cry. So I can be in the pictures, I can be at home. The kids. The kids absolutely know when I'm going to start. Glasses come off.
Tears streaming down.
Holding it. That's kind of where I'm at with that. So my kids do see that, and I think. Equally as well, when we make mistakes as parents, whether it's a raised voice or whether it's something that I've not fully understood, and there's been an ask and it's been kind of like an instinctive no, and then I've kind of pondered on it and thought about it and then gone back and said, well, okay, explain it to me a little bit more. So, I think those kind of responses are helping shape my kids. So I love that. I love that side of it. It's not always easy. But it's always the right thing to do.
Definitely. What do you feel are the main issues for men nowadays?
The main issues for men. It's tough, isn't it? I think there's a lot of issues in society, not just for men.
Yeah, it's all kind of connected, really.
Yeah, I think you know, we're in a really different era. We're in a different generation. We're in the technical generation. I think equally as well, I think we're probably in a time in our lives where it's the most fatherless generation, whereas fathers have been present but gone to war and not come back, and people have had to grow up without fathers. I think in today's society, from my perspective at work and what I deal with, we're seeing a lot of children having children, and then we're seeing a lot of absent fathers, and we're seeing kids and their understanding of parenting where it's not been great for them, and they've been brought up in single parent families. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with single parent families. I just think that sometimes you lose half of the contribution, and that can have a sway on either side.
Definitely.
So I think there's a lot for the generation that are coming up behind us to kind of define as well. And I think masculinity in itself is redefining, and I think the generation that's coming up, they've got an opportunity to do that, but equally there's some pitfalls along the way in the way that they gravitate to certain types of what they feel that is to be, that's the right thing to be a man. Or a lot of the young people that I work with, for example, they are into this rap and grime and, you know,
the gangster kind of life.
Gangster life, and they think it's like a shortcut or a bypass to wealth and fame, and that's and it's just an illusion. I think like technology, you know, we talk about fatherless generations. Technology is becoming the parent in a lot of people's homes.
Oh God,
And I think that's redefining what it is to be a man, what it is to be a young woman, and how men are meant to respond to young women. You know, and because there's a lot of things on technology now that, you know, they worry me. There's a lot of violence. There's a lot of guns and killing games and shooting games, and I think our younger generation have even become kind of normalised to it. So it's like they think like nothing of it. They're completely desensitised. It's just a game. It's just a game. You know, and I think there's a lot of room for growth for men and for the younger generation to define it. But equally, there's a lot of things that are missing for the younger generation to learn off the older generation. I once heard a story about migrating elephants, and there was this kind of like a sanctuary, like a rescue sanctuary, where they successfully reunited African elephants, and what they wanted to do, they wanted to carry on the success of that place. So they started to migrate them to another place so they could build up the population there. And they took all the young elephants, so all the lighter elephants. So they took them and they brought them over into a new area to kind of boost the population. And after a couple of months, what they started to see was that the young bulls, like the teenage bulls, as it were, they started attacking hippos. They were attacking rhinos. They were killing them as well, and they were absolutely going on rampages. And the research behind it, they got together and they recognised that the missing link was that the young bulls didn't have anybody to show them the old ways.
Like the authority kind of, this is
and
how
what
you
it
do
was
things.
to be in a place where other animals existed, and how they should act towards that. So they ended up taking a mature bull over to that sanctuary, and all the killing stopped. Instantly. And I guess sometimes, you know, when I talk about fatherless generation and technology replacing some of our parenting and our talking, social media, you know,
a lot of aspects of life, isn't it?
Social media, you can have more friends on social media and still feel lonely.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's kind of like you've got 200, 300, 400 people, and yet we're losing the art of speaking and talking and doing life together.
Yeah.
You know, being outside and all the beautiful things that are out there that are already right there, right in our eyesight, we tend to take for granted. And you know, when you look at technology these days, it's come a far way from, you know, 2 sticks like that, a square ball. So that's what it was when I was a kid. You know, the graphics now, it's like watching a movie.
Oh yeah.
So what, you know, it's like eye candy, innit? What young person wouldn't be attracted to that and wouldn't want to spend the time in that?
Oh yeah, definitely.
You know, so it's there's a lot to navigate through. I think us old bulls have got a responsibility as well within that. But equally, you know, it's for redefining. I think, you know, a lot of our old ways, they don't fit into a technological era, and I understand that.
Yeah.
But some of them mask how we should be and how we should, you know, how we live together and commune together, all that kind of stuff. And I think they're the kind of core values that I think we still need to have a responsibility to, you know, feed into our younger generation. Definitely.
They need to be like transferred so it fits the way it is now. Yeah,
it's like when I talk to my staff at work, you know, I've done a lot of learning over my years, and I always say to them, listen, I'm an open book, please kind of sit through the pages and I can share knowledge with you, but it's up to you to go away and make it your own.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, put your interpretation of your characteristics, your values and skills, add all those to that knowledge. And, you know.
Yeah, definitely. So going on from kind of what you've said about what's shown in the media and all of that, there's a lot of media portraying harmful male behaviour. How does that affect you as a man when you hear and see these things?
I hate it. I really, you know, as soon as someone puts grime, gang affiliated, drug affiliated, you know, talking about shooting people up and violence, and it kind of turns my stomach, because I think, you know, not only is technology, you know, portraying violence and all those kind of things, we've got rappers and people of influence using that in a way that can be misconstrued. I'm not saying they're making it happen themselves. What I'm saying is young people with no direction who haven't got that father figure to look at, or you know, that's what they're looking to, and what they're hearing is, and what I'm seeing an increase in young people carrying knives. I'm seeing an increase in violence on the streets. I'm seeing an increase in violence towards women. You know, and the list just goes on and on and on. And there are, you know, there are plenty of role models out there, but you know, if you're hovering over the desert and you're looking for decay and you know, like a vulture does, you're gonna find it.
Yeah.
If you're a hummingbird and you're hovering over the desert and you're looking for nectar, you're gonna find it. You know.
Yeah.
So I guess if you look hard enough, there are the right types of things there for you, but sometimes the easiest stuff is the bad stuff.
Oh yeah.
You know, it tends to kind of, it just flows so easily into people's lives. It's like anything in our own lives, isn't it? When we think about ourselves and we think about, you know, if we're asked to look at ourselves and, you know, evaluate ourselves, we would tend to overtly look at things from a more negative perspective than we would a good and positive perspective.
Yeah.
And I think that's the kind of tipping point of life, really. There's a lot of stuff that's negative, and it's easier to slide into the negative than it would be to put the hard graft in to establish and develop integrity and you know, really good characteristics and treat people right, because there's this other slant that says, well, why do all that hard work when it's just as easy? Just go and take it from somebody else. 100%. Just take what you want.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to work for it.
Yeah.
You don't have to earn it. There's no hard work involved in it. And when you're presenting that to young people, I always find that there's no resistance because they haven't built a resilience. They haven't got those people to say, listen, you know, make your mistakes at home. We're here for you.
Yeah.
But, you know, we're not going to stand by and just allow you to keep making those mistakes. You've got to have your parents on your case.
Yeah.
Who are going to do time with you, to invest in you, so that when you do finally reach that point, you know, you can make those decisions because you're older and wiser and more of an adult to tackle those things. So, yeah, it's easier to step into the negative.
Yeah. Well, that's where you get it. The disjointed families, they don't have the end result in their sight. They don't see the good that they can get to.
Quite often it's socialisation as well.
Yeah.
You know, poor families who are, you know, being raised in those areas, their socialisation is that, you know, it's really tough and they're the things that we've got to do to protect ourselves and survive.
Yeah.
Some people it's survival.
Yeah.
It's a survival mechanism.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of stuff that is being portrayed through music, social media. You know, you talk to our kids these days and they can believe something just off one post.
No, it's fact.
You know, there's no kind of research involved. There's no thinking about what other people might think of that and balancing, and because they just don't have that.
Yeah.
And they would rather, it's easier, quicker just to believe that one line that says drugs are great, beating up women, you know, keep them in control. All those kind of negative things that uneducated, destructive will end up. There's a saying, isn't there? A house divided cannot stand. And if we think about the earth and the way that humanity is, I don't think throughout society, even towards our politicians, there is divide.
Yeah. All the way through the hierarchy.
Yeah, there is just divide, and we can't even live together in the most democratic of places, and where democracy is meant to be alive. There's still brokenness, and what we see is all these fractured ways of living and being and doing. And so I guess, you know, there's a bigger picture in that unity would bring.
Yeah.
But again, equally, in unity, would we all get to be individuals?
Yeah.
You know, so there's, you know, and that goes to an even bigger scale, doesn't it?
Exactly.
Worldwide.
Definitely. And we see all the, especially recently, there've been loads of shootings, people that stabbings, especially close to us in Liverpool. But it's all for petty reasons, all for stuff that you can have a conversation about, sort it out. But no, we'll just go stab them.
Yeah. Instead. And the gang rivalry and all those kind of things, you know, the young people that I'm working with, they all want to be a part of that for some reason. It's upsetting and it's distressing. Really, you know, that's somebody's son, someone's daughter.
Yeah. And
they're looking for acceptance, and they would sooner listen to one person who doesn't have much to say in their life and hold that as a truth, rather than the three good people that are saying, you know, you're this, you're that, you're beautiful, you're clever, you're intelligent. Yeah. They would rather believe that one thing that says you're ugly. Yeah. And that one comment. Yeah. And that's where I guess the strength of parenting comes in, you know. And the differences from parents, you know, the different lenses from each parent, how that can influence and take things from a different perspective. So they're getting a double whammy. They get it from that perspective and they're getting it from this perspective. So.
Yeah, definitely. So kind of going from that, do you think that there is enough positive male role models in media or society in general to help young boys be the best that they can be?
There needs to be an influx, really. Because like I said, the negative always seems to rise to the top. Yeah. And it seems to be that just as you look around, there's loads of it, it's all over. Whereas if you want to look for a good role model, you've got to delve a little bit deeper. Yeah. And I think the youth of today, I don't know how much delving they really want to do. I think there's a lot of things now that are instant. So when you're talking about, you know, for me with computers, when I was a kid, we used to load a computer up, right? We used to load the cassette, right? Put it in. We used to make all these crazy noises, right? While it was loading, okay? We used to go out, play for an hour, come back, it'd be loaded up, then we could play the game. This day and age, you've got instant gratification.
Yeah.
But not just on a game. If you don't like the way you look, you can change that.
Yeah.
If you don't like who you are, well, you can completely reinvent yourself. You can. There's stuff that you can do instantaneously now that I think takes away from resilience, takes away from people working through things.
Yeah.
You know, persistence.
Yeah.
And I think those qualities make a difference in a person's life.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
So there's a lot to do, isn't there? And you know, I think about my kind of role models being like Bear Grylls and Ray Mears and Ed Stafford, and you know, because I've got an interest in that.
Yeah.
A lot of our young people these days, they're going to YouTube.
Yeah.
I know it with my kids. YouTube seems to be this massive thing, and there's some YouTubers on there that are just I wouldn't consider good role models.
Yeah.
My cat's just in the way of everybody wearing.
It's okay.
Come on, you
special guest.
So so I think they come into our homes without an invitation.
Yeah.
Through our kids.
100%, yeah.
And we can't be so micromanaging that every single site that our kid goes on, that we've got, you know, we've got parental controls. We know that we can put things in place that provide a safe environment for him, but not every role model that comes through onto the screen will be a positive one.
Yeah.
And that can lead to confusion. It can lead to young people's minds being convinced that that's the right thing to do, or that's the right person to be, and that's the way to be.
Yeah.
So there's a bigger lens. There's a wider invite into the lives of young people now through technology and internet and all these things that, you know, make it more difficult, I think. Man's a specific interest. Man's, you know, doing bushcraft and doing the outdoors and mountaineering and climbing and so those things, they're a different thing, because I'm out and about and I'm doing those things. Our kids are just sat in the rooms on their phones, doing their Xboxes, PlayStation, Nintendo Switch. How many more do I need to, you know? That everywhere you turn, there's a device, there's an iPad or
and like with TV, they think about the person they're putting on telly, whereas they don't have to do that on YouTube.
Exactly.
Anyone can do it.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's usually the ones who don't have the best intentions who are the best ones. So it's hard to find the ones with good intentions to make you like, because your kids don't want to watch that.
Exactly. And you know, quite often there's an ulterior motive behind people doing the things they're doing. Yeah. Whether it's money or influence or whatever it might be, it's to their own bias or slant, and that can be dangerous as well. Yeah, definitely. So as we are a charity who deal with domestic abuse quite often, how do you think education should change to teach young boys that violence against women and girls is not the right way? I'm 100% about education. I love education. Yeah. But my path has been through like youth work and informal learning. Yeah. So I love experiential learning. Yeah. I love gathering the knowledge but linking it to an experience. Because I think in that way you create something that's not going to be easily rocked or broken. Yeah. You know, you can have knowledge, but knowledge against an experience, you're not going to rock. No. If you have both, it's an unbreakable bond. beyond, really.
And so much more memorable as well.
Exactly. I've never rated education from a sense of you can regurgitate what I'm teaching you, and that's you're learning to an academic kind of perspective.
Yeah.
I'm always about lifelong lessons.
Definitely.
You know, doing things, maybe making mistakes, reflecting.
Yeah.
You know, in and on that experience.
Yeah.
Being able to be accepting and wanting to learn, I think, is absolutely key.
Yeah.
We're all lifelong learners,
Mm.
and that's what I love about experiential learning. There's always a better way that you could do something. There's always a different way or a different means of seeing it.
Yeah.
That can help you to grow and help you to become all that you want to be.
Yeah.
So education, I think education and having people hear things from people that have gone through that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
you know,
Definitely.
and the traps that maybe young men, young women have fallen into in becoming those types of people.
Yeah. 100%.
I think they can, you know, shining a light on pitfalls in life and disappointments and times of, you know, where you've not got it right, and being able to share that and for people to hear that, I think that's really powerful.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot that our young people can learn from those kind of things. So yeah, for me, education in that sense,
Yeah.
is a really key thing. And I think not just for our young people, I think for our professionals as well, police, you know, all those people that deal with those kind of, you know, incidents. It's having an understanding of what it might be for a person who's a victim in that, and how, you know, they feel that they've been treated in those kind of situations. I think that's really important as well.
Definitely.
So I think, you know, education is definitely something that I'd advocate.
100%. Yeah. Got to get it sorted.
Yeah, completely.
Well, that was a great interview. Thank you very much for all your time and your lovely answers.
Thanks very much. Appreciate it.
I'm sure we'll speak to you again soon at some point.
I've no doubt.
Thanks, Andy.
All right.